I thought I knew every corner of my own home, until I found her hiding in the one place I never imagined. My husband lover. My name is Zaha. I'm 55. This is my story. The front door clicked shut behind me, and I froze. Something was off. Keys rattling in my hand, heart thudding. I whispered to myself. It's just me, Marie, just you. Welcome back to your ultimate destination for gripping revenge stories, family betrayals, shocking betrayals, and emotional justice. Subscribe now and join a community, and tell us where you're watching from. Turn on the notification bell for our next story. Are you ready to witness the ultimate payback? Let's get started. I stepped into the living room. The faint sound of laughter. Soft, deliberate. A man's laughter. And a woman's giggle. My husband, Carl, crouched over the coffee table. Across from him, a woman I didn't know, tracing her fingers over the glass top like she owned it. Carl. My voice was barely a whisper. He froze. Eyes wide. Zaha. But I didn't let him finish. I stepped closer, each step measured. You think I'm blind? You think I don't notice things? My voice was cold, deliberate, slicing the air. The woman gasped, standing abruptly. Sit, I said. Just like that. My command left no room for argument. Carl opened his mouth, stammering, but I raised a hand. I want to hear everything. From the beginning. They exchanged a glance, panic flaring. It's not what it looks like, Carl finally said. I laughed softly. Not what it looks like. Carl, she's in my house. My home. And yet, somehow, I'm the one who's supposed to believe it's nothing. The woman shrank. Please. I didn't know. Of course you didn't, I said, pacing slowly. You were invited. By him. To my house. Carl's face went pale. He opened and closed his mouth like a fish. You thought I'd never find out. I stopped. Stared at them. Walls have ears, Carl. And I listen. Always. The tension in the room tightened like a rope around my chest. I leaned in close. Do you know what the worst part is? They didn't. You underestimated me. And that is going to cost you both everything. Their eyes widened. Fear replaced arrogance. I paused, letting the silence stretch. Then I smiled faintly. But first, you're going to think you might get away with it. I reached for my phone. A message sent to a trusted friend. Be ready. Evidence incoming. Tonight. They had no idea what was coming. Sit tight, I whispered. Because the lesson is about to begin. Do you think I'll forgive them, or make them pay? Keep watching to see how I turn the tables and expose their lies. And trust me, Carl will regret ever thinking he could hide anything from me. I closed the door behind me, leaving Carl and his lover frozen in the living room. Every step I took echoed like a countdown. My pulse raced, not from fear, but from clarity. I retreated to the kitchen, phone in hand, and dialed the number I'd been holding onto for weeks. The person on the line didn't need an introduction. Everything's set. I asked. Everything. Tonight, they won't see it coming, came the reply. Calm. Controlled. Perfect. I hung up and leaned against the counter. My hands trembled slightly, but not from anger. From focus. Carl's betrayal was personal. Deeply personal. But that didn't mean I'd explode blindly. I would turn their arrogance into their undoing. And the most satisfying part? They'd never know it was me, at least not at first. I returned to the living room casually, letting the air seem as though nothing had happened. Carl's eyes darted toward me, panic barely masked behind a forced smile. Zaha, he started. I didn't respond. Just poured myself a glass of water, letting the silence press like a weight. His lover, Elise, fidgeted nervously. I shouldn't have. You shouldn't have stepped foot in my home, I said softly. Zaha, please let me explain, Carl pleaded. I shook my head. Not yet. I moved to the sofa, gesturing for them to sit, and watched as they obeyed. Fear and confusion painted their faces. Perfect canvases for the lesson I intended to paint. Do you know why I'm calm? I finally said. Carl's brow furrowed. Elise's lips pressed tight. Because I've been preparing for this moment. Every whisper. Every secret. Every late night you thought I was asleep? I was listening. I was watching. And now I hold all the cards. They exchanged a glance. Panic flickered like a candle about to go out. I called a few friends, I said, letting the words hang. People who know the law. People who know exactly what to do when someone thinks they can manipulate, cheat, and lie their way through your life. Carl's throat worked. Zaha, you wouldn't. Oh, but I will. I interrupted. Not violently. Not rashly. Strategically. I leaned forward, voice dropping. The best revenge isn't loud. It's inevitable. Elise swallowed, lips trembling. Please, we can fix this. I'll leave. You'll leave, I said calmly. After you've understood what you've done. And only then will I decide if leaving is enough. Carl's hands clutched the armrests. He looked like a man drowning in his own guilt. Good. That's exactly where I wanted him. I glanced at Elise. You thought you could step into my life, my home, my family. You thought secrecy would protect you. Her face drained of color. You underestimated me. I pressed my lips together, thinking of the next move. Tonight I'd expose them. Quietly. But effectively. Tonight, Carl would realize that trust, once broken, could never be reclaimed so easily. Tonight, Elise would see that manipulation always comes at a price. I sipped my water, letting them stew in tension. Sit tight, I said lightly. The first step happens tonight. By the time you understand what's coming, it will already be too late. Carl's eyes widened. Elise's hands twisted in her lap. And I smiled inwardly. They didn't know it yet, but the walls weren't just listening. They were alive. And so was I. Do you think I'll confront them directly? Or let them destroy themselves first? Keep watching to see how I set the perfect trap for Carl and Elise. And trust me, it's about to get intense. The house was quiet after lunch. Too quiet. I used it to my advantage, moving through each room with calculated steps. Every picture, every chair, every object in its place. But today, each shadow became an ally. I was invisible yet omnipresent. I dialed another number. Everything's ready. Cameras, audio, and timing, all set for tonight. Perfect. She won't see it coming, my ally whispered. I smiled. Not arrogance. Not joy. Focus. I returned to the living room, pretending to scroll through my phone. Carl lingered near the window, eyes darting to every corner. Elise sat rigid on the sofa, twisting her hands nervously. Zaha, Carl said, voice low, almost pleading. I didn't look up. You can't do this. Think about it. I tilted my head slowly, finally meeting his gaze. Think about what? About how you tried to betray me. About how you brought someone into my home behind my back. Elise swallowed hard, her voice shaking. Please, just give us a chance to. I raised a hand. No. Chance is gone. Opportunity to lie, cheat, and manipulate is gone. And tonight is when the truth finds its voice. Carl's breathing quickened. He tried to step forward. I raised a finger. Sit. Don't move. I walked toward the hallway, pretending to leave the room. I pressed the hidden button on my phone. Cameras inside the house flickered to life. Every corner, every whisper, every gesture. Recorded. Live. Ready. Carl turned toward me. Panic painted his face. Marie, what are you? I stopped at the staircase. I'm giving you a choice. But it's not the one you think. He froze. Elise's eyes widened. You see, I said softly, walls have ears. And they've been listening. Tonight, every lie, every deception, is going to come back to you. Carl opened his mouth, stammering, but I ignored him. I returned to the living room casually, holding a glass of water as though nothing had changed. Zaha, we didn't, Elise began. Sit, I said again, voice calm, cold. She flinched but obeyed. Perfect. I leaned closer, voice dropping. Everything you thought you hid? It's all exposed. But not yet. Not until you understand the weight of your actions. Carl's hand trembled. He clenched the armrest. You're insane, he whispered. Perhaps, I said lightly. Or perhaps I'm just finally awake. I stepped back and gestured to the room. Stay put. Everything you say, every move you make, every glance is being recorded. And when tonight ends, there's no hiding, no excuses and no lies left standing between us. Elise's lips trembled. She tried to speak, then stopped. Fear had replaced arrogance. Carl's eyes searched mine, desperation flashing. You wouldn't. I would, I said softly. But not out of spite. I would to teach a lesson. A lesson about betrayal, trust and respect. I paused. Let the words sink in. The weight in the room shifted. They realized they were trapped. Not by chains, not by force, but by truth. I smiled faintly. Tonight, you learned that being clever is nothing without conscience. And once you see what's coming, remember this moment. Remember how you underestimated me. They didn't speak. They couldn't. The tension was a living thing in the room. I walked to the hallway, pressing another button. Lights flickered. The security system I'd installed months ago hummed quietly. Every exit monitored. Every step tracked. Carl swallowed hard. Elise's fingers gripped her knees. I whispered, almost to myself. Now the final act begins. Will they realize the full extent of my plan? Or will they try to escape before the lesson is complete? Keep watching to see how Carl and Elise finally face the consequences of their betrayal, and the trap closes in fast. Night fell over the house like a velvet curtain. Shadows stretched across the walls, and the faint hum of the city felt distant, almost unreal. But inside, every heartbeat was amplified. Mine. Carl's. Elise's. The tension was a living pulse that refused to be ignored. I lingered in the living room, leaning casually against the wall, as if I were unaware of the storm I'd set in motion. Carl paced, each step heavy, calculated, but nervous. Elise sat on the sofa, hands gripping the cushions like they were lifelines. You're insane, Zaha, Carl muttered, voice low but sharp. You've turned our lives upside down for what? A petty grudge. I tilted my head, letting a slow, deliberate smile cross my face. Petty? Carl, this isn't about grudge. This is about respect. About boundaries. About trust you shattered with your own hands. Elise's lips trembled. Please, we can fix this. I'll leave. No, I said, cutting her off. My voice was calm, but icy. Leaving isn't enough. Tonight, you're going to understand the consequences of your choices. Every whisper, every step you thought was hidden, is exposed. Carl froze mid-step. Exposed. I nodded. I've been recording. Cameras, audio, everything. Every lie, every plan to betray me. And now it's all safe. Stored. And tonight, you'll see how powerless manipulation really is. Their faces went pale. Fear replaced arrogance. This was the moment I'd waited for. The crack in their armor. Zaha, you can't do this, Carl said, voice shaking. Think about Ethan, think about the kids, think about the house. I laughed softly, pacing slowly. Think about trust. Think about honesty. Think about what happens when lies are allowed to grow in silence. You didn't think I'd notice, did you? Elise whimpered. I didn't mean. You didn't mean to hurt me? Then why were you in my home, Carl? Why did you hide her here? Explain that. Carl opened his mouth, but no words came. Only stammered breaths. I stepped closer. Tonight, I decide your fate, not in anger, not in violence, but with clarity. Every move you make, every gesture you think is clever, is already part of my plan. He looked around, desperate. Marie, what plan? What are you doing? I leaned in, lowering my voice so only they could hear. I'm showing you the power of being underestimated. You thought I'd be oblivious. You thought I'd let you take what isn't yours. You thought you could play with me and win. Elise shivered. Please, we're sorry. We'll leave, we'll fix this. Fix it. I repeated, voice calm but sharp as a knife. Fixing isn't the lesson. Understanding is. And tonight, you'll understand. Carl's knees nearly buckled. Fear clouded his eyes. Elise clutched the sofa cushions, trembling. The house felt smaller somehow, closing in, suffocating with the weight of their guilt. I paused, letting the silence stretch. Let them feel it. Let them know control had shifted. Zaha, Carl finally whispered. You're not going to. Oh, I am, I said, smiling faintly. But not how you think. You won't be hurt. You won't be humiliated publicly. You'll be undone quietly, efficiently. The truth always finds a way. I stepped back, letting the tension fill the room. Sit tight. Watch. Learn. And remember, underestimating me was your first mistake. And mistakes can be very costly. The fear in their eyes was delicious, but I didn't rush it. Let them stew. Let them realize that the walls truly did have ears, and tonight, they were speaking loudly. Will Carl and Elise manage to escape before I reveal the full truth? Or is it already too late for them? Keep watching to see how the trap closes and the lesson truly begins. I waited in the kitchen, pretending to sip my tea, while the living room held its prisoners. Carl's pacing had slowed, Elise's breathing hitched. Both of them were on the edge of panic, but they didn't know why yet. I pressed a button on my phone. A soft click. The recording I'd captured played through the hidden speakers in the room. At first, they didn't realize what it was. Then Carl froze. What is that?" he whispered. I leaned against the counter, calm, controlled. "Oh, Carl. That's every word. Every secret plan. Every conversation you thought you had hidden from me." Elise's eyes went wide, and she took a step back. You recorded?" "Yes," I said softly. "Everything. You and him. Every step, every lie. Every plot to manipulate, to deceive, to betray me. All of it exposed." Carl's face drained of color. "Marie, you can't." "I already did," I said. The tension in the room thickened, oppressive. I could hear the pulse in my own ears. I stayed calm, letting them panic while keeping my voice steady. "You thought I'd never know. You thought hiding her here, sneaking around, pretending loyalty to me, would protect you. But loyalty is earned, Carl. And trust? That's sacred. You destroyed both." Elise's hands flew to her mouth. "Zaha, please." I shook my head slowly. "No. This is about clarity. Tonight, you'll see what it means to be accountable." I walked into the living room, slowly, deliberately, letting them feel my presence. I sat across from them, eyes locked on Carl's trembling form. "Do you understand now? Every whisper, every secret, it all comes back. Every action has a consequence. And tonight you're going to face it." Carl's shoulders slumped. "Zaha, please. I can fix this. I swear I'll make it right." "You can't fix the past," I said softly, letting the words sink in. "You can only learn from it. But learning requires honesty, reflection, and action." I pressed play on the recordings again, letting them hear their own voices confessing plans, mistakes, and betrayals. Elise trembled, unable to look at me. Carl buried his face in his hands. "You see, Carl," I continued, "the lesson isn't humiliation. It's accountability. It's understanding that choices define us. You chose deceit. You chose betrayal. And now you will choose to make amends, or watch everything collapse around you." I stood slowly, my eyes never leaving theirs. "I've called the authorities and documented everything. But I won't destroy you completely. Not yet. You will have a chance to rebuild, if you dare to act honestly. If not, the walls, the recordings, and the truth will do it for me." Carl whispered, voice cracking. "Zaha, I understand. I see it now." Elise's voice was trembling. "Please, Zaha, give us a chance." I took a deep breath. "You have one. But know this. I will not tolerate deception again. One more lie, one more betrayal, and you will regret underestimating me." I turned, walked back to the kitchen, and pretended to check the oven. My heart was calm, focused, ready. They were trapped, not by anger, not by rage, but by the truth. And truth is heavier than any weapon. They had no idea that tonight, they had begun their reckoning. Will Carl and Elise actually take responsibility, or will their next move push them further into disaster? Watch Act 6 to see how Marie's master plan tightens, and betrayal meets its consequence. The house was quiet again, but the tension lingered like smoke. Carl and Elise were on edge, pacing the living room, their faces pale, hands fidgeting. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound seemed amplified. And I was calm, centered, patient. I walked in, casually flipping a page in a magazine, pretending to ignore them. My gaze, however, was sharp, observing every twitch, every glance, every flinch. "You think I'm done?" I asked softly, looking over the top of the magazine. Carl froze. Elise stilled. No, Zai, we'll do whatever it takes, Carl said, voice shaking. I set the magazine down, letting my hands rest on the table. Do whatever it takes? Do you even understand what it will take to regain trust? Elise swallowed hard. Zaha, we understand. Please, we won't betray you again. I stood and walked closer, letting each step be deliberate, measured. You think apologies are enough? Carl. Elise, this isn't just about apologies. This is about awareness. About recognizing the damage you've done. And tonight you will feel it. Carl flinched. Zaha, you're scaring me. Good. I let a slow smile cross my face. You should feel fear. Fear isn't just about danger. It's about understanding the weight of your choices. Every lie you told, every secret plan, it's all coming back to you. I pressed a button on my phone. The hidden cameras played a live feed of them moving, the sounds of their whispers and anxious breaths filling the room. Elise's eyes widened. Carl's knees buckled slightly. You thought you could hide, I said, voice low and controlled. You thought I'd be oblivious. You were wrong. And now, you are completely exposed. But here's the thing. This isn't about destruction. It's about reflection. About accountability. Elise's hands trembled. Marie, what do you want us to do? I leaned closer, eyes locking with Carl's. You will confess. To each other. To yourselves. No more secrets, no more deceit. You will sit down and face what you've done, and only then will you begin to make amends. Carl swallowed hard. His voice cracked. I don't know if I can. You can, I said firmly. And you will. Because if you don't, the walls will tell the story for you. And believe me, I will make sure the truth is undeniable. Elise's lips quivered. Ziche, I never wanted to hurt you. I truly didn't. I nodded slightly. Intentions don't erase consequences. But your actions going forward, those will define what happens next. You have one chance. One. Fail, and you'll see how merciless truth can be. Carl's shoulders slumped. Elise's hands covered her face. The weight of the moment pressed down like a storm ready to break. I stepped back, giving them space, letting them stew in the tension I had cultivated. Tonight, I whispered, is just the beginning. But by dawn, you will understand. Trust broken is a debt owed, and I intend to collect. The house seemed to breathe with me, alive and aware. The trap was set, and now every step they took brought them closer to the reckoning they had long ignored. Will Carl and Elise confess, or try to escape their fate? Keep watching to see how Zaha turns their fear into truth, and how betrayal meets its first real consequences. By midnight, the tension had thickened into something almost tangible. Carl sat slumped in the armchair, eyes hollow, hands shaking as if the very walls had reached inside him. Elise crouched on the sofa, head in her hands, trembling with every breath. Their arrogance had vanished. Fear had taken its place, sharpened and merciless. I leaned against the doorway, crossing my arms, observing them like a predator sizing up its prey. You've both realized something tonight, haven't you? I asked softly, letting the question hang. Carl's lips quivered. Yes. I see it now, all of it, every lie. And? I prompted, stepping closer. Do you feel the weight of what you've done? Elise lifted her head, her eyes red and wet. Yes, we made a terrible mistake. I walked slowly toward the sofa, letting my presence fill the room. A mistake? Carl, Elise, this isn't a mistake. This is betrayal. And betrayal has consequences. Carl swallowed, his throat dry. Marie. We will make it right. We'll. I held up a hand. Sure. Not yet. Right now you need to understand something important. You need to feel it. I pulled out the envelopes I had prepared earlier, each one containing documents. Proof of their schemes, their lies, their hidden plans. I placed them on the coffee table. Carl's eyes widened, his hands twitching toward them. No, I said calmly. You do not touch them yet. First you confess. To me. Out loud. Every lie. Every plan. Every deceit. Don't hold back. Elise's voice shook. Zaha. I hid things. I lied. I shouldn't have been here. Good. I said softly. Say more. Don't pause. Don't try to soften it. Speak the truth fully. Carl's shoulders slumped. I thought I could manipulate things. I brought Elise here, thinking you wouldn't notice, that I could get away with it. I was wrong. I betrayed your trust. I nodded slowly. Yes. Feel the weight of those words. Let them sit with you. Elise whispered, voice trembling. I wanted him. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to destroy anything, but I was wrong too. I betrayed your home, your marriage, your trust. I stood back, letting silence settle. The room was thick with guilt and fear, the walls heavy with tension. They couldn't escape it. I watched as the realization hit them like a storm. Now, I said, voice low and steady, you'll understand that every choice has a consequence. Not from me, but from the truth itself. And tonight, you've learned the first consequence: exposure, awareness, fear. The rest comes soon. Carl and Elise looked at me, broken silent. Their arrogance was gone. Only fear and regret remained. And that, I thought, was exactly where I wanted them. I walked toward the doorway, pausing to glance back. Think about what you've done tonight. Because the next step, the next revelation, will show just how high the cost of betrayal can be. Will Carl and Elise survive the next step? Or is their world about to crumble completely? Watch to see ZAHA's plan escalate, and the ultimate lesson begins to take shape. By the time the clock struck 2 a.m., the house felt different. The air was dense, heavy, almost vibrating with the tension of unspoken truths. Carl and Elise sat on opposite ends of the living room, eyes fixed on the floor, hands intertwined with guilt, their breath shallow and uneven. The arrogance that had once colored their expressions was gone. Broken. Vulnerable. I entered the room quietly, letting the soft click of my heels echo against the hardwood floor. They looked up as I stopped in the center, my eyes scanning every line of their faces. You thought deception was clever. I began, my voice calm but sharp, carrying an edge that made them flinch. You thought secrets could shield you from the consequences of your actions. But secrets, lies, they always come back. And tonight, you're going to feel the full weight of that truth. Carl's voice trembled. ZAHA, please. I'll do anything, we'll. I raised a hand, silencing him. No. Not anything. Specific. Measured. True. You will face the consequences with clarity, not panic. You will act, not beg. Elise's eyes were wide, filled with fear. ZAHA. I understand. I'll do what you say. I smiled faintly, letting the silence stretch, pressing them to feel every moment, every heartbeat. Then I walked slowly to the coffee table, retrieving the envelopes I had prepared. The proof of every hidden move, every betrayal, every secret. I placed them in front of them. Now, I said, letting the words sink. You are going to reconcile with reality. You're going to face what you did. Not only to me but to yourselves. Read these documents. Understand. Acknowledge. Confess fully. Carl hesitated, glancing at Elise, then back at the envelopes. ZAHA, this is too much. Too much? I asked softly. No. Too much is pretending you were honest when you weren't. Too much is thinking you could play games in my home. This is clarity. This is justice. They slowly opened the envelopes, eyes scanning the evidence of their own schemes, recorded conversations, signed documents, and secret messages. Each revelation hit them harder than any scolding, any confrontation could. Their faces fell, shoulders slumped, eyes misted with regret. I didn't realize, Elise whispered, voice shaking. Carl's jaw tightened. Marie, we were wrong. We see it now. Every step, every lie. I nodded, voice soft but firm. Yes, you see it now. And with this awareness comes the chance to make things right. Not with words. With action. With honesty. From this moment forward, your choices will matter. Do not waste it. For the first time, silence filled the room. Not tense, but reflective. Their guilt was palpable, almost suffocating. But beneath it, I sensed a small spark of understanding, of remorse. I leaned closer, voice dropping. Remember, trust is fragile. Once broken, it can never fully return. But respect, accountability, and courage, those can rebuild. Tonight, you've learned the price of betrayal. Tomorrow, you'll live with the responsibility of how you choose to act. I stepped back, letting them absorb the weight of my words. And that, Carl and Elise, is your final lesson. Fail to heed it, and the consequences will be greater. Succeed, and maybe, just maybe, you can earn redemption. Will Carl and Elise finally take responsibility for their actions, or will they slip back into deception? Watch to see how ZAHA closes the chapter and delivers justice once and for all. Dawn crept through the blinds, casting pale stripes across the living room. Carl and Elise sat rigid, silent, their faces hollow from a night spent confronting their own misdeeds. The house no longer felt like a trap. It was a courtroom, and I was the judge. I entered the room slowly, letting the quiet stretch before I spoke. "Good morning," I said softly, almost conversationally. "Or is it? I think last night changed a lot for all of us." Carl swallowed, avoiding my gaze. "ZAHA." His words faltered. "Elise," I prompted. She shook her head, voice barely a whisper. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Truly." I nodded, letting their remorse fill the room, but I didn't soften. Sorry is a word. Action. That's what counts. And you will have to act, starting now. I handed Carl a document. "These are the corrected ownership papers for the house. You signed them under false pretenses. Now you'll see the truth. You either accept responsibility, or the authorities will handle it. Your choice." Carl's hands trembled as he read. "I see. I understand." I turned to Elise. "And you? You stayed here, knowing what he planned. Do you accept your part in this?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Yes, ZAHA. I accept it. I'll do whatever it takes to make amends." I walked to the window, looking out at the rising sun. "You see, Carl, Elise, betrayal doesn't just harm the person it's aimed at. It corrodes trust, love, and the very foundation of your life. You felt that weight. And now you have a choice. Rebuild honestly, or crumble under the truth you tried to hide." Carl nodded slowly. "We'll rebuild honestly. We'll fix this." Elise took a shaky breath. "We'll be truthful. We'll never lie again." I allowed a small, satisfied smile to cross my face. Good. Because trust, once broken, can be fragile. But actions, your consistent, honest actions, can mend it over time. I leaned back, letting the words settle. Silence filled the room again, but this one was different. It wasn't fear. It was reflection. Understanding. Accountability. "You tried to play me," I said, voice calm but firm. "You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought the walls were just walls. But walls have ears, Carl. And truth has power." Carl lowered his head. "We see that now. And we are grateful in a way. For making us see." I smiled faintly. Grateful isn't necessary. Awareness is. Responsibility is. Remember that every decision has a cost. And you've just paid a debt. Not to me, but to reality itself. I moved toward the door, looking back once. Consider this a final lesson. Betrayal can be hidden, but it will always find the light. Justice doesn't need to shout. It simply waits silently until it's time. Carl and Elise remained seated, humbled, reflective, and changed. The house that once held tension and deception now felt lighter. Truth had returned, justice had been served, and a new beginning awaited, but only if they followed through on their promise to act with honesty. I closed the door behind me, leaving them in quiet contemplation. The storm of the night had passed, the lesson was learned, and the balance restored. Betrayal can happen anywhere, even at home. But truth and courage can always restore justice. If you loved Marie's story of exposure, suspense, and ultimate revenge, hit like, subscribe, and share this story. Stay tuned for more tales of cunning, justice, and family secrets revealed. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.